Last time we introduced boundaries with kids, we talked about the main thing. The main thing, your goal in parenting is to form their character, period. That is your job description. You fail miserably when your kids grow up with no character. It's your fault. It's just your fault. You were responsible for that. So if you've already blown it, I just give up on life and cry. No, you're not. No. All I'm saying is I really am teasing, but seriously, it's your job. It's my job as a parent. We cannot control their character. We can't make them make decisions. All I'm saying is our whole job, we measure success by doing the best job we can to form their character. They are still free-willed individuals. And we do that. I like how John Townsend breaks up in these three parts. I took straight from him, page 22. We protect them internally and externally. That's on page 22. We manage things for them, and we decrease how much we manage as they get older. And then we provide for them, which also we decrease how much we provide for them as they get older. We talked about that. All these things help form. We'll talk more about consequence a little bit. That's a big one to form character. I said that children are not born with boundaries. They don't know what that means. They come out of the womb crying, usually, right? They can express emotions fine, but they don't know where they end and someone else begins and vice versa. So, page 23 is parents need to have boundaries themselves to instill them. You can't give what you don't got. It is a good and necessary thing for you to have boundaries, period. They need to learn that that's where it comes from. So they need to learn that boundaries are healthy and good. No, that's mom's. No, that's daddy's. No, that's not yours. No, that's not your brother's. The word no is magic. When it's used well, some kids think their name is no. Or stop. Don't do that. That's not their name. But I'm saying when used appropriately, no is a very, very good, healthy word. It teaches them limits. If your kid thinks he has no limits, he thinks he's God. Only God has no limits. We want children to realize that's healthy. It's safe. B, children must learn boundaries from parents who have boundaries. So they're good, and then you have to demonstrate them. And we do that by modeling it, literally modeling it. No, please don't touch that. No. Also by saying it. And we talked about that. I said last time, I gave examples with our own children. We would say, respect her. No, Hayden. She said no. No. Julia, he said, I don't want that. Did you hear him say that? So we become the enforcers to help protect them both from what's valuable and to help enforce boundaries. And we have on the video Julia telling the cats, respect her, no. Talking about the other cat. You're not respecting princesses, no. And we give high fives, me and Lane. You can be upset, but you can't hit people. Respect your sisters, no. You teach that vocabulary. You teach them inappropriately false boundaries when you say things like, now don't talk about that now. In general, are there times it'd be mean or perhaps mean to talk about something that's very, very sensitive? That's not, we're talking about that. We're not talking about that. If I've done this before our kids, so-and-so's spouse or loved one just died and we're going to go visit them, we would talk about death on the way to the funeral, or it recently happened. We would tell them the context. So if they act sad, that's why they're sad. And so here's some things we can talk about. So in case, because they're already very, very sad, let's don't say why they die. You can ask us questions. We want to make sure we're sensitive to this sad season of their life. So my point is we would preface it, nuance it, and tell them why in this case we don't ask them this. You can say you're sorry. You can give them a hug if they want it. Or do nothing because you're a child, right? We would tell them that. If you feel compelled to do something, we would talk to what are some appropriate things. Those are specific. But in general, we didn't say, no. We just try to make sure it didn't sound mean. And they have examples on page 23. Any questions or comments about that so far? Quick review. Okay, nothing? Page 23. So this is new material. Unless you haven't been here before and you're like, this is rapid fast. Okay. Again, the purpose of parenting is not behavior management, it's the formation of character. We raise children not just to obey rules. Let me pause there because a lot of parents think that's exactly what their role is. My goal is to have unending rules for you and to point out when you violated them. That's just wrong. That's unhealthy. And if that was your childhood, I'm sorry. If it's currently your childhood, I'm sorry. That's not good parenting. Good boundaries develop a child's internal world so they can function as healthy adults in relationship with God and others, as we talked about that. That's the whole goal, right? That was on page 22. Okay, so here's marks of maturity in boundary parenting. So it's not just giving rules, but healthy boundaries grow up our character. They mature our character. What are some signs your kid's character is developing? Let me ask it this way. What are some signs that you have been a good protector, manager, and provider? What are some signs you've been doing a good job? You'll see these things in your child as they grow up. You'll see these are marks of maturity. The character is getting better. These are examples. These aren't all of them. These are examples like this. That child recovers from distressing emotional states. They can feel anger, fear, sadness, disappointment without becoming overwhelmed. This is called affect regulation. It begins with parents attuning and helping children name and navigate emotions. How do you feel with that? Well, I feel frustrated. Okay, well, let's talk about it. What makes you frustrated? They're able to be with the child in any emotional state. They help the child learn there's a word for that. We label the emotion. We normalize the emotion. Yeah, it's okay to feel angry about that. People feel angry when they get when so-and-so hits them, or they get sad when they lose their toy. I would get sad too if I lost my toy. Really? Oh yeah, I got sad when my flower died. Sure, that's normal. And if they're crying, come here, baby. I love you. I'm proud. I'm with you. Healthy parents, this is worth gold. Healthy parents don't try to fix it. That's not healthy. See, the world's full of people who think that negative emotions are there to be fixed. It's false. It's false gibberish. Ask any therapist knows what they're talking about. Feelings aren't there to be fixed. They're there to be experienced, processed, and let go. That's what feelings are for. If you still don't believe me, I've said this in every study I've ever done ever on emotions. Some of you may not still believe me. That's fine. We're all works in progress. Did Paul say this? Did he say, cheer up those who weep? Did he say give Bible verses to those who weep? Did he say give Valium to those who weep? Did he say take them to the bar of those who weep? Did he say tell them to count their blessings to those who weep? Did he say look on the bright side? You know what God's done for you for those who weep. What did he say in Romans 12:12? Romans 12:13. Weep with those who weep. That's right. I'm with you as you're sad. I'm with you. You need to experience the sadness and the weepings, processing that grief so that it metabolizes you. You feel it like a wave and it gets out of your body. When you try to fix it, you stop the grieving process. You've just hurt them. You've harmed them. They do not need to look on the right side. They don't need that. They don't need a new toy right away. They don't need a new dog right away. They don't need to be told how bad you had it when you were a kid. They need to feel it and see this is what humans do. Something happens, they have a feeling, they can label it, they name it, they feel, they express it, they may shake their body, they might pout, they talk about it, the dialogue. There's a human being, a caretaker, who feels safe. It's called containment. We're out kind of like literally and metaphorically put our arms around them while they feel these emotional states, particularly distressing ones, and they feel safe in that. And then they relax, they get off your lap and run on, go play again. That is healthy. That's how to develop character. They learn emotions come and go and come and go. You don't need to stop them. They sustain periods of stress and delay gratification. Little footnote, they've done studies on you might say human measures of success. Graduating with a good GPA, graduating, going to college, successful career, big money, whatever. One of the number one things they discover in the longitudinal studies, like after 40 years of tracking the same people, the top of the list repeatedly is they're able to, when they were younger, delay gratification. They've done studies on that with put up marshmallows. If you wait 3 minutes, I'll give you 2 marshmallows and see how many kids can make it. And then they track them over the years. Those that could wait did much better on all kinds of measures of metrics. Now, there's all kinds of there's more nuance, but in general. But that's true. True maturity includes the ability to postpone pleasure for the sake of responsibility. Like Paul says in Romans 5, 3-4, suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character. The ability to say, I want something down the road that I have to go, which makes me go through something now that feels distressing. But I will get that at the end. And if you can do that, their character is increasing. Children think when something's tough, I can't do it. And it's impossible, and I don't want to do it. And it's impossible, I don't want to do it. Oh, and it's your fault to come fix me. And parents go, okay, I'll do the assignment. I'll do the homework. Sure, I'll call them. I'll lie for you and say she's sick. Oh, okay. You've damaged their character. They need to be able to say, no, I can do homework. I can stay in there. I can have a difficult conversation, and then life goes on for the greater benefit of. They need to lose well, grieve, and let it go. They have to learn. They need to learn. If they're healthy, they need to learn everything is you can't win everything and fix everything. You just can't. There's not an adult in the world who doesn't know that you're just going to fail, that you're going to be fired for reasons you couldn't control. You're going to be laid off, that the storm happened, the stock market crash. Things are beyond your control. And you can plan and pray to your nose bleeds, and things are going to happen to you of which you were just a victim. You're just a victim. They need to learn that early in childhood because it's true. So what do they do about that? The goal is they don't give it up in life and get terribly depressed. They just grieve that. They model that. They teach it. Whoa, when I was a kid, no. It is a big loss. You're right. Well, you worked so hard and the game was lost. You worked so hard and you lost the shot. You worked so hard and that friendship still didn't work out. You worked so hard and the dog didn't come back. The toy didn't work. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That's very difficult. I'm proud of you for working hard. This does happen sometimes, and it's okay to be disappointed and sad. How do you feel about the fact that it didn't come true? You had a dream and it didn't happen. How do you feel about that? Well, it makes me you mad? Yeah, it's okay to be mad. That's normal. I get mad too sometimes when things don't come the way I want them. Yeah. That's the way it's normal. Now what do we do? After you grieve and process and you're with them, after that and they've calmed down, then you go, what do we do next time? What are some things we can learn from this? Well, next time I think I will still work hard, but I guess I'm not going to be expected as always going to work my way. Yeah, that's true. That's a good belief. Not, I don't trust people. That's what everyone else does. Well, forget them. Yeah, and the parents come, yeah, they are a no good son. She's just a no good piece. That's her problem. They haven't learned anything. What they've learned is when I don't have my way, I blame other people and it's their fault. And they stay like a little baby all their lives. They're grown-up bodies, but little children on the inside. And the world's always against them. They're always complaining about how the world hurt them. It's sad. That's not character, though. That's a maturity. They lose well, they grieve, and they let it go. They do grieve. It's okay to be sad. I don't do a lot of things right in parenting, but I remember this. I'm just trying to give examples. As a parent, and like with marriage too, I think of so many examples that come to mind. I don't share all of them because I don't want you to think, David's just a flawless parent. I wasn't flawless. I'm still not flawless. I've told my children, I have several times, I love you and do the best job I can, and I'm going to pay for your therapy. Those things are true. All three of those are true. I mean it. But I remember Hayden played football for a while at a private school. And his birthday is September 1st, which means in the cutoff, he's the youngest child. He always was the cutoff before go the next year. So which means every grade, he was the youngest kid. Like they'd start the school year, birthday. No, at the end of the year, whatever it was. The point is he was the youngest, which means he's always the shortest and the smallest the whole time, virtually. So it was distressing. It was sad. But he was on the football team. And there were times, one time particularly, he was so sad because something didn't happen, and he was on the field, and people and I gave him a hug. He's in his, he's this little above my stomach, and he starts crying because people are leaving. He's real sad. Things didn't work out. He worked hard, and I don't know if he dropped a ball. I don't know what it was. And so I just made fun of him. I said, what a sissy for crying. You must be a loser like your mom. And I didn't say that to you. She's like, I never knew David was this. Of course, I hugged him. It's at church so my khakis and shirt, and I lean down and I just give him a hug. Immediately, I'm so sorry you're sad. It's okay to cry, son. It's okay to be sad. I'd be sad too if I were disappointed. And he tried to cry some and stop, in and out, beating me. And I said, it's okay. And he just sat there in his football. And I said it over and over. I'm sorry. It's okay to cry. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for crying. I'm sorry you're sad. And I just held him. He's just sitting there with his football and he's kind of shaking. I could hear him. And basically everyone's off, they're gone back to the thing. And when he stopped, I said, do you want to move on? Do you want to stay here? He's like, we can go. But it helped him metabolize just a little bit. He lost, he grieved, and let it go. A good character is confessing when one is wrong. I was wrong. Confession should be taught as a pathway to healing, not humiliation. It's not you're a loser, say you're wrong. It's you're clearly wrong, own it. Parents have asked me through the years, should I make my child say it? Yes. Yeah, because when they're little, you're teaching them a discipline. Even if they don't want to say it, if you know they're in the wrong, that's key. That's key. Not the siblings said so, therefore they just happen to have feelings hurt. No. It's like if they actually they were playing checkers and the brother won and the sister's crying about it. It's like, he just beat you in the game. We need to grieve the loss, but he's not going to apologize for beating you. He didn't do anything immoral or sinful. But when something is wrong, you say you're sorry. You say, just say the words, or there's consequences to be grounded if you need to say it. Sorry. If that's the best they got, that's fine. Now, as they get older, you can say it doesn't seem genuine, but you train them in that. That's what they grow up and realize as they get older. The character is, I know I am not flawless, and I'm humble enough to go, I might have blown that. I'm sorry if I did. That's character. They change behavior when confronted with reality. They just change when reality hits them. For example, being late. If they're late all the time, they're going to get fired. They'll get fired from their job. So their kids, they need to learn that. They change that with reality is you couldn't go to that event. When you don't have friends because you're a jerk, because you're always making fun of them, they'll learn that. You need to change your ways. No one hangs out with me. Let's explore why no one wants to hang out with you. Not completing homework. You're going to get bad grades. Bad grades means you get grounded. If you don't turn an assignment at work when you get older, you get fired. Now, how many times would it make it before my sermons weren't prepared on a Sunday? I mean, I've worked with people at church who have other jobs. They don't do junk until the second of, or they just think impromptu. But long term, they don't last. You're being paid to get a job done. You're being paid to perform this task. When they get old, when they're younger, they should learn that. They need to change when reality is not working. Right? That's how repentance works. I learn my ways. I feel remorse for it. Now I change with reality. When I confront reality, they forgive people. It's not pretending something didn't hurt. You release that right for revenge. Right? You forgive people. You allow them to be angry and grieve, and we work on letting it go. If you find a child who has been angry and grieved, and you normalize, you're with them, and then way later they're still bringing it up, we either go back to the grieving process or we say it's time to let that go. We help them say it's time to let that go. If you've been through the process. Otherwise, we don't want kids to have the character trait that I feel powerful when I keep holding against you what you did wrong. And there are adults who do that to this day because they never learn what forgiveness means. And of course, they take ownership of a problem. They don't blame shift all the time. Mature people say, this is mine to fix. Like Galatians 6:5, each one should carry their own load. If it's their problem, it's their problem. So those are signs of characters really increasing. And when that happens in your own parent, your own children, praise them profusely. Way to go! You said you're sorry, I didn't have to beg you to say you're sorry. Way to go! You did that assignment on your own. Way to go! You cleaned up your room without me having to beg, tell you, and threaten Jesus, and way to go! Congratulations, that's very mature of you. Teach that word to them. Your character's really growing. It's cool to see that. You're becoming more and more like your mama, not me. I'm happy about that. Okay, so when you do these things for children, how do they respond? In general, they're going to be very, very thankful for everything you say no to. They won't. As children, as they grow up, it gets different, right? But as they're very young, they grow up, they respond to boundaries with grief. So you get ready for it. And testing. Now, depending on their age, children will grieve. They're going to pout, throw tantrums, sulk, manipulate. Come on now, I hear that. They will grieve the loss of control. That's what they're grieving. And they're going to come out with pouting, tantrum, sulking. They try to manipulate, yes. But they're grieving. Please let that sink in. They're grieving a loss of control, of desired outcomes, of attention, of autonomy. They're mourning the world not being as they hoped it would be. And when they're very young, their disappointment is metabolized through emotional behavior without the verbal capacity to narrate how they feel. That is to say, they won't say, I'm really angry with you. They'll just act pouty and throw things at you or hit you. When they're real young, they'll say things like, you're not my friend. They'll look at their mom and dad in the face and go, I hate you. Thinking anything they could to make you feel hurt, punish you because you took away something they wanted. I'm mad at you, and I'm going to express that by punching or kicking or saying the worst things possible. And I've seen parents in the moment, don't you say that, don't you say that? And the kids on the inside, like, it's warm, gooey chocolate. It worked. All now, ding, 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 going forward, whenever I get them to do what I want or get some validation, even if it's negative attention, just say, I hate you, I'm your friend. That's why I teach parents, you look around the face and go, okay, and move on. The more stoic and robotic, the ball goes, ding, falls on the ground. Doesn't work at all. But I say more than that. They say the word hate. But anyway. Chiefly, children will respond to boundaries with testing, not just grieving. They will grieve. They'll test it. They'll test it. It's not a sign something's wrong. Your kid's full of Satan. They might be, but testing is not that sign. It's how they learn what is solid, what is negotiable, and what is dangerous. Let me unpack those three things. So when they test the boundary, like a limit of a wall, they go up a fence, they hit that boundary, they're testing it. This is where really good. For example, I'm going to go a little slower on this. You make sure you see this. When they test that boundary, they learn what's solid. The child's probing to find what realities are fixed. What are non-negotiable truths about the world? A solid boundary might be like, we don't hit. You must go to bed at this time. And if a parent wavers, the child learns not just the rule is flexible, but the reality itself is unstable. Nothing's fixed in the world, and that is terrifying to a child. It is terrifying. The solid is not just about rules, it's about the emotional environment. Children ask, they don't say it this way, but they are asking this inside. Can I count on you to be the same person tomorrow? Will your love be firm when I'm flailing? Is the structure of this world dependable enough for me to explore without falling through the floor? They're asking, what happens when I push? Do I still belong when I'm messy? Can you hold the chaos of my emotion without becoming chaotic yourself? They're very articulate children. But that's exactly the kind of thing they're doing and why they're doing it. Is the world fixed on anything? Is the world stable? I can't overemphasize this enough. In my counseling now over 25, almost 25 years, I'm telling you, I meet adults all the time who did not learn these things. They think the world is unstable, and I'll go later what they'll say, and dangerous. It's constantly fluid. That's because their parents didn't teach them this. You can heal from that. But as parents, you want to teach your kids these things. When a child grows up with no boundaries because a parent's absent, they're neglectful, or they're consumed by addiction, usually the big three things, they're left to navigate a world without stability, without solids. They're forced to become their own authority. That creates deep anxiety and insecurity. Why? Because they're a child. It's scary to death. They get so scared. Because the world's unstable, I got to depend on myself, and they don't know what to do. The child's forced to become their own authority. They may appear overly independent. That is, they withdraw. I meet people all the time that way. You can tell it's called they parentified the child too early. They become like they're just a little grown up. Whenever you meet a child who's overwhelmingly too mature for their age, that's the first sign you bad parenting. Some kids are just that way. They are, but if they're overwhelmingly independent. They're 7 years old, getting themselves dressed, getting ready for school, doing their own homework, making dinner. You got an addict at home, I guarantee it. Or no one at the home. That's not normal. It's not healthy. Little kids, they're not being a child. They have responsibility. They're 6. Their biggest responsibility is pick their toys up afterward and make sure they brush their teeth with help. I mean, that's not healthy. That's not healthy. Tell me the child's trying to survive. Not fussing at the child. I'm saying parents didn't give them. That's too much independence. Or they're defiant. But underneath is a fear that no one's coming to hold the chaos. The world feels unsafe. Relationships feel unreliable. The child internalizes they have to control everything or no one will. No one's there to help me. So healthy boundaries teach what is solid in the world, what I can count on. When I meet people in life who are able to have friendships with a person and they respect boundaries, they go, what would you like to do? Sounds good. How about this? Or we negotiate. Sounds good. You said no? That's no big deal. That healthy boundary stuff almost always had healthy parenting. Because they learn that you can say no to a person and the relationship's not at stake. They're not over-reliant. They don't rescue the person. They're not always offering advice. They're not always seeking advice. You feel like you're talking around a safe peer, an individual, P-E-E-R. Just, they're in this together. That's probably usually good parenting. The second thing they learn was what is solid, what is negotiable. This is where we begin to discover personal agency. What do I want as a child? And we grow up in youth, teenager. What do I want? Maybe bedtime is a non-negotiable, like you're going to bed, but which pajamas they wear is a negotiable. Of course it is. Like literally as a parent. Now when you're 16, 17, it's different. And I give examples on this. When the kids are real little, I know as an adult, I'm much more wiser, educated, and intelligent than my children. The children are foolish. They're foolish. They're unwise. They don't know anything about the world. And this is a little footnote, one of the most bizarre parts of parents debating 5-year-olds. I told you, like, what are you debating a child for? They're a dumb kid. You know everything more than they do. Even if you're a bad parent, you still know more than the way the world works. And so if you're an educated, calmer parent, you know that the average child needs between, on average, 10 to 12 hours of sleep a night. That's why they have bedtime at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and they still sleep until 8 o'clock. Because their body's growing exponentially. They're burning so much energy. And so a parent goes, no, baby, you're going to bed at 7:30. I know, but the son just kind of, I know, baby, I know. Yep. In other words, I know my knowledge is to protect you. I know your body is growing. I want to grow as much as possible. It doesn't matter. Hey, my kids, we used to have to 1, 2 like I do. You know, have 14 beers. No, we don't do that because children need a lot more sleep than an adult does. But what is negotiable is, did they wear pajamas or not? For Christmas one year, I got cowboy boots. And I was so excited. Now, this is Mississippi. There were a lot of cowboys, but I just loved them. I was so excited. My dad tucked me in that night. I still remember it. I mean, I was 17, but it was, whatever. I remember. I was probably 5 or 6. And I'm lying in bed, and I said, Dad, can I sleep my boots on? And I remember he was out in the foot. He's 6'5" or 6. He was much taller than the bed. He goes, if you want to. I go, okay. So he pulls a blanket over me, and my boots are dangling out. And I remember he's like, yeah, that's negotiable. If you want to. About halfway through the night, I woke up, my feet were throbbing. So I pulled them off. I still remember, can I wear my boots? I'm like, yeah. When a child senses that there are areas they can influence, they begin to feel empowered rather than powerless. Too many solids and they're crushed. Too many negotiables and they're lost. Too many solids and they're crushed. Too many negotiables, they're lost. Elaine taught me a lot on this too. Elaine taught me a lot about a lot of things. She still does. But with children, it's brilliant. Little things like when the kids are little, we give them options of drinks. Do you want water or apple juice? Or water, apple juice, or orange juice, really whatever's in the refrigerator. And if we did apple juice, we always diluted it. I mean, it was this, if it's a bottle, it's 2/3 water and 1/3 apple juice because a lot of sugar in it. At the time, there was no sugar-free apple juice. I couldn't find. Anyway, but it was still apple juice. So the point is, though, we had already predetermined which options were healthiest for them without being a crazy person. I'm sorry. But they can have some sugar in their life because we know the rest of their diet. They don't eat candy all day long. So we'd say, what do you want? Well, that's enough to empower them to make a choice. So we wouldn't say, do you want water or apple juice? They say apple juice. You go, no, you're getting water. Don't you? We're going to lose or chooses. We would say, sure. They don't know we're diluting it. Who cares? And then Nana did not dilute it. She poured out, go. And they were like, they were, oh man, Nana's apple juice is a crack. They'd be, give me some more, Nana. Hey, we used to dilute that. Oh, I didn't know that. Nana's apple juice is sweet. Nana, I'll give you $5 if you give me some. Anyway, those are negotiables. You give options, some options, as much as possible. They're also, third thing is, so they know what's solid and negotiable. And 3, they learn what is dangerous. When a parent responds to boundary testing with rage, they're mad at you because you test the boundary, whether withdraw their affection or they shame you. Children learn that exploring their limits can cost them love, security, or safety. They internalize that curiosity and desire that they're risky and their needs are inappropriate and dangerous. They don't stop having needs. They develop shame for having them. When I say, hey, Mom, I don't want to wear that to school. I feel embarrassed. That's the problem with you. Blah, blah, blah. All I do is, Okay, 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 okay. Every time I eat that, I want to vomit because I really hate the taste of green beans. Do you know what? I grew these myself. You, okay. And so every time it teaches them what's dangerous. When I have a self, when I'm never allowed to have a self, independence from you, without getting rage or you cut me off or you shame me, they internalize that it's dangerous to have desires and needs. It's dangerous to push the boundaries and go, where is that limit? It's dangerous. So if that's your it's not about you parents, but if it is your childhood, I guarantee, one of your most dominant parts that came to the rescue in front is a perfectionist or a people pleaser. Either one of those two. Guarantee it. Yeah, so they're both. Yeah, it'll come up. Because you don't have a self. When the self starts going, but what about, can I? I'm sorry, can I? Whatever you want. Thus, the child's response to boundaries is emotional data points. Grief and protest is one of the data points. That's one of the data points, right? That this grief, this protest. The child's feeling out the architecture of reality. They're asking, what are the edges of the world? Are they safe? Can I live inside them? And they're watching. Will you be sturdy enough to let me fail, cry, protest, and still stay close? When Hayden was real little, there was about a year or so, a routine for us in Houston was after our church, we'd go to lunch, usually by ourselves with people. And Hayden was about 16. I would hold him. I'm kidding. He was under a year old, I guess, maybe about 5, 6, 7, 10 months. And I would hold him. And without fail, there was a long time where he would start to fade for nap time around the time we're waiting to be seated at the restaurant. Usually it was on the border. It's a Tex-Mex place. So we're waiting. Well, usually by that point, I'd hold him. Well, then when he gets sleepy, he'd get real irritable. Just start crying. And I'd say, it's all right, baby. I'll hold him like this. I'm holding him. And then he'd push against me, like, let me go. So you put him in a seat, and he just pitch a fit. He wants to be held. You pick him up. He's mad at you. Nothing's changed. I'm kidding. Nothing. So he's mad there. He's mad here. I thought, well, of course, we know what's happening as wise adults in the room. He's very sleepy. He's responding to the sleepiness with anger and rage. And first he's sad. Get me, I'm mad. Pick me up now. Now I'm mad at you. And so as I'm holding him, he's pushing a kick. He'd go, he'd kick, and he would turn red. Sweat would pour out of him. He's screaming, and I'd go, and I'd have to grip him hard just so he don't fall in my arms. Not like choke, like I'd grab him. And I'd go, I hear you, baby. He'd be, and I'd go, I know, you're sleepy, aren't you? And I'll just walk around, talk so gently to him, walk around, and we're waiting, all these people in the crowd, the music. I'm just honest, I hear you, I know you're sleepy. I go, I know, baby. We did this for months. And eventually, he'd give up and collapse. He'd fall asleep. And we call that containment in psychology. That idea that, can I express my rage at this thing that keeps holding me tightly, that feeds me and takes care of me and bathes me and all that stuff? Can I do that and I'm not dropped or hurt or punished or pinched? The answer is, of course, no, none of those things. He felt Dad's love, masculine kind of strength love, that it's okay. I'm okay with you pitching a fit. You're just sleepy. That was an early boundary test. It was, get off me, but don't leave me. But get off me, but don't leave me. But don't get off me. They're just so confused. That's okay. They don't have, as I said at the top of page 24, they don't have the verbal capacity to narrate how they feel. They're showing it. And when we get older, he would say it more. That's fine too. So when the children, let me say this bit and I'll pause for question or comments on this. Well, let me pause there real quickly before I say the parent part. What about y'all? Any question or comments about that? Okay. So I'm trying to demonstrate why psychologically boundaries are so good, even though they will grieve it and test it. That's expect it. That's healthy. Expect pushback. It's not a sign of sinfulness. It's autonomy and so forth. All these things. What is solid? What is negotiable? It's autonomy. What is dangerous? Okay. When the child tests the boundaries, parents can fail the test. Not y'all, but other parents you've seen at Walmart. You don't go to Walmart like me. I know a lot of you do because I do counseling from aisle 1 to aisle 17. Does happen all the time. I go incognito, put a fake mustache on, Bennett's fake mustache, and I go up and I don't. I am kidding. Now you're going to avoid me. I'm just kidding. When a parent fails the test, they confuse the child about reality. So here are two common ways that parents can fail the test. They can depend on the child for emotional support. This happens when a parent is emotionally immature, usually have their own unresolved trauma, the divorce, codependent background. They begin to lean on the child emotionally. The child becomes the parentified one. The child needs to offer comfort, advice, or even physical affection that fills the parent's unmet needs. This reversal damages the child's development. Children cannot bear adult burdens. They're not your friend, they're not your therapist. So if your child starts pitching a fit because you said no and they get upset, then you get really upset because it triggers your childhood. I'm sorry, come here, give me a hug. I'm sorry, please forgive me, please forgive me. Woo, right off the bat, you become a child and you want to dream like a parent. It re-triggers your own woundedness. Doesn't mean you're a lousy parent, it just means that wound just took over, but that you failed the test. Or you over-identify with the child's anxiety or grief. I see this one a lot in parents. I see this one. The first one I don't see as much unless I get to know them or in therapy. This other one, I see it. This is rescuing parent, the one who steps in too quickly, not because the child can't handle it. It's not because the child can't handle it. It's because the parent can't bear to watch them suffer. Often this comes from parents' own history. I wasn't protected, so I'll protect you from everything. I remember how devastated I was that happened to me, so I won't let you feel what you must be feeling. This stunts them. Children need to be allowed to experience distress within safe limits so they can grow stronger. I mean, I've had people say it. I've heard them say that. I remember when I went through that. Oh, it was horrible. It was horrible for you. Just because your child's sad now doesn't mean it's horrible for them. And you can see this on, usually a lot of times moms, sometimes dads' faces, if a child falls down or they're disappointed, they start crying. You see mom just start weeping almost uncontrollably. They just weep. Like, why it makes you sad? It just reminds me when I was a kid and I just... A very, 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 very common one. This happened really in the 80s, particularly 1980s. Some of y'all don't know anything about that. That's fine. Some of y'all have underwear that old, I know. But back in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s were the very first time in American culture where it became commonplace for women to work outside the home. And so they made up a term called latchkey kid, where a kid who stayed at home and mom and dad were working all the time. And so it was the first time dual income became the predominant way in American culture. It never had happened before ever in American culture. Doesn't mean therefore it's bad or good, just it never had happened. But some things were bad because they weren't ready to cope that with children. But one of the reasons they would say, if you go and see interviews or talk to people, why did you work so hard? Sometimes they needed it to pay the bills because a bunch of reasons, inflation happened, a bunch of stuff happened. But one of the things is because when I was a kid, we didn't have it. And I want to make sure my kids, what I have, what I never got myself. And that's because my parents came back out of World War II and they worked all the factory, 50, mom stayed at home. We had 18 children. And usually dad was a raging alcoholic because he had post-traumatic stress disorder from the war. And I want to make sure they have it. And so they showered kids with gifts. So Christmas became extravagant. You had to spend $500, $1,000, you had to have everything, and then it just increased. And you see a whole generation, of which that was my generation. Thankfully, my parents didn't have that same problem of, anyway. So all that to say, it stunts resilience. They need to be allowed to experience distress with safety, but not immediately. Hayden, and Elaine will say this, I'm not making fun of, particularly Hayden, and it's part of a guy, the dad thing too, it just is, where if he fell down and he hurt himself, she's like, oh baby, I say, wait a second, wait, please. I'd say, please wait. And he'd cry a little bit, and I wake up and, you okay? And he'd go, yeah, and run off. But mom wanted to loop in there and say, okay, and scratch off the dirt. Like, he needs to have scabs on his kneecaps. It's a rite of passage. My knees were covered all the time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they just were. I think I didn't even own shoes as a kid. It's crazy. I went out barefoot all the time. It was dumb. But the stuff I came home, that doesn't mean therefore I'm better. I'm so good I went through it. All I'm saying is you don't want to rescue that. He needs to learn that. Now, it's different if he's harmed. He's bleeding, right? Or sure. But just a distressing feeling, let him shake that off. You're there with him. You look at him. You okay? Do you need me? I don't come right to the rescue. You okay? Now, if they get up and they're, yeah, I've seen parents do, come here, baby, come here, versus going, baby, you look like you're okay. Are you okay? Take a deep breath. You look okay. Are you hurt? Okay, give you a hug. You're doing great. You're doing great. Go ahead. I didn't shame them, but I didn't over-identify and say, let me hold you for 15 minutes because you tripped. You're teaching the child they can't process their own sadness. That separation. I'm right here if you need me, but right now you don't need me. But I'm here if you need me. Those quick little moments like that, let them know I can do it. I'm not abandoned my parents, but I don't need to be rescued every time I hurt either. This healthy balance of back and forth, which we're not perfect, but that's the goal. But what we don't do is rescue. By rescue, I mean make sure we try to our best to prohibit them from feeling suffering. That's rescuing. I'm not saying we don't come to their aid when it's needed. Of course we do. Good heavens, of course we do when it's needed. Let me pause there. Any questions or comments about that? What grade are you giving yourself on your, she said I put an F on the top. Has the grade gone up at all or is it still, D minus? I'm kidding. It's not, yeah, no, I'm kidding. That's all right. No other questions or comments about this? If you don't have a handout, there's still some back in the back corner if you want one. Do you see, do you get that when they push back on boundaries, that's okay? It's okay. You don't need to freak out about that or be scared about it. Just, yep, I know you expect that. Okay. We'll introduce this next one. We're going to run out of time, but I want to introduce it. And the next time, this is where how do we teach kids boundaries? It's going to be very, very practical. All this is, I think, practical. There are going to be real things to say. Go ahead. Okay, teaching children boundaries, consequences. They don't learn accountability through shame and manipulation. They don't learn that. They learn through reality. They don't learn through shame and manipulation. They learn through reality. And most, if I had to pick out one thing I see parents do wrong the most, it's this. They think a consequence is screaming at the child, cussing at the child, calling the child names. You loser. Tell them how bad life's going to be for them. None of those things are consequences. It means the parent needs therapy and Jesus. That's not consequence. Those are not healthy, but you're not teaching. I'm teaching them about the way of the world. No, you're not. You're teaching them you're a lunatic. You're teaching them that you cuss. You teach them that you scream. You're not teaching about reality. You're not. You have anger issues, but you're not teaching them reality. God himself uses consequences to teach and discipline his people, Hebrews 12, 6, 11. He doesn't use guilt trips or abandonment. Name one Bible verse where God cusses out the Hebrews. Go ahead. I'll wait. Give me a Bible verse where Jesus cussed out the disciples when he did something wrong. That's what some of you do, right? Theoretically. Or you've heard people do it. Well, kids, he's needed it. Where's that from Jesus? They cuss at yell at them. And you say, well, my parents are non-Christian. I agree, that's a whole other ballgame. But from the Christian perspective, that's overwhelmingly un-Christ-like. Psychological and relational consequences like nagging, guilt, withholding affection, they do not foster growth. Ever. 100% never. Some dear friends from Kansas have flown. They've drone and flown. They drove all of them Kansas just for the world-class sermon you're here today. They're over there. Anyway, no, I'm glad. So Bo and Crystal here, and they're great farmers, and they do all kinds of great things. If I said, hey, Bo and Crystal, what's the best way to kill every crop you have? Oh, David's all kinds. You can pour some poison on it. Just go put some there's all kinds. I guarantee you will kill the crop. I guarantee you're hurting your children if you do these things. You are not causing growth by doing guilt, manipulation, withholding affection, pouting, not talking to your kids for days. These create anxiety, resentment, and enmeshment. You become so needy with the parent. They may change behavior in the short term because your child's afraid of being abandoned or rage, but they harm the relationship and they don't teach wisdom. Again, yelling, cussing, nagging, abandonment, etc., these are not healthy consequences. How many times did I say that in a paragraph? I'm sorry, I just keep emphasizing that over and over again. So what happens is the child, when the parent's like, I told you, blah, 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 the child, without fail, is going to have a trauma response. If they're typical, they're going to have one or two trauma responses. They're going to be frozen, and their mind's going to disassociate. That's a psychological freeze response. I've talked to numerous people. Where did your mind go while you're being yelled at? I don't know. I just started, I float out of my body. That's frozen. The other thing they're going to do is they're going to fall and they'll be a perfection. They'll say, whatever you want, Okay, I'll do it. They get older, the other two F's come out, not those F's, other than that's going to be flee, they're going to run away, or they're going to want to fight. And when those trauma responses come out, when that happens, the child is surviving. They're not learning healthy consequences to life. They're so overwhelmed by threat and they feel powerless, and there's your trauma. And if they don't process those feelings of experiencing that even one time, if you don't process the feelings you had of that even once, you're going to have frozen trauma inside of you from which you can heal. I've got decades of experience of seeing people, including myself, heal from it. You can heal. I'm saying if you're a parent, you're doing it to your children, you were teaching them not healthy consequences, but to be afraid of you. Reality-based consequences teach the child their actions affect reality and they must take responsibility. And that's what happens. And I give a list of things of reality-based consequences, like losing privileges due to disrespect or rule breaking, missing out on events or activities when responsibilities aren't met, paying to replace broken or lost items with allowance to earn money. You redo poor work before moving on. Your later missed opportunities due to poor time management. You have to apologize and make amends when you hurt someone. Going to school tired after staying up too late. You have to wear dirty clothes because you didn't bring your laundry down, which I've told you 1,000 times to do, and X, Y, on and on. I give tons of real-world examples of when you grow up, these things are still true. You're going to lose your job if you keep doing this. You won't have friends if you're always mean, and on it goes. Well, I'm out of time now, so feel free to read ahead and pray and process. And next we will come back and we'll pick up right here in the consequences. And I want, if you want, bring back any questions or comments you have about real-world examples of consequences, and then we'll talk about, we've only got next week we'll wrap up on children with, boundaries with children. Anything else right there? Any questions or comments? Let me say a quick prayer for us if I can. Thank you, Heavenly Father, so much for the chance to think on how to be the best parents we can be. We thank you that no matter how far, maybe poorly we've done, you can fix us now. We thank you for the privilege of parenting. Holy Spirit, give us your wisdom, your courage to do it right. Love, grace just flows out of us. Jesus, amen.